Hey guys, it's me again. Sorry for the radio silence and lack of updates for the past few weeks. But as some of you guys that watched my previous reacts would have known that I was actually building something behind the scenes that I kind of teased in the previous video. And today I am finally able to say that the last most important feature is now implemented. It's in, it's live, and I can finally announce it to you guys that the official V1 of my app is here. It's live. You can go in right now and use it. And let me just share with you why I even bothered to make this app in the first place. For those of you out there who have been using Suno, whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, and advanced, whether you're music trained or not, you would have realized that there's actually not really a place for you to learn music terminology, what the terms mean, specifically what are the terms that are used in Suno, because not all music terms are accepted by Suno, right? Not to a whole deep, in-depth understanding of it, but you know, there are some music terminologies to about an intermediate level that you can actually use in your Suno prompts to help make better music. Let's say you're an absolute beginner, right? And you finally bought your Suno subscription. Now you're in the create page and you're like, well, where do I start? Right? Sure, you can say, yeah, we have the simple tab over here in Suno, but it doesn't teach you anything. It's just giving you a more simple workflow like, yeah, make me a birthday song or something like that. But there's nowhere for you to actually learn how to get better at prompting, what words to use, what are very strong trigger words, what are not so strong trigger words in prompting. So you're actually not even learning anything if you just natively prompt like that. Unless you go out of your way to, you know, maybe go see what's on the explore page and, you know, see from how they prompt and then apply it. But even then, let's say you see the word arpeggiated chords. If you're an absolute beginner with no music experience, even if I were to tell you arpeggiated chords, that doesn't tell you anything. If you have no idea what arpeggiated means, how are you supposed to use it? And so it was along those lines where I conceptualized and wanted to make an app so that I can build this bridge between new users, no music training. I mean, I myself am not music trained, but I just listen to music a lot and I just have a more passionate interest in music. So that's why there are some terms where I learned, there are some terms that I know, but I'm not music trained. Anyway, this is my app. It's called SoniLoft. Don't worry about it. When you first enter my app, it would show you the navigation controls, either middle mouse button, wheel, zoom in and out, right? Or WASD if you have no mouse if you're on a laptop, right? Over here, I should tell you that I do have analytics because I need to know what are the more popular options that people want to interact with, right? Let's say I have this particular playstyle, let's say sustain or tremolo, right? And I need to know whether it's useful. So I would probably track like, okay, how many times has this been clicked, right? This will give me a better idea on what are the features that aren't really as important as I thought it would, and what are the features that are actually important that users actually want. And so that's essentially what the analytics are for. But don't worry, this data is anonymous. I do not know exactly who is who. It would just tell me user 67 has clicked this, how many times it has interacted with this. So then I would gauge based on the mass rather than each and every single user. So please don't worry about that. And then you enter. In fact, there is nowhere for you to log in. So I'm not even asking you to log into an account, right? That's something for the future. So yeah, it's free. You can literally go in and start making. So the last and most important feature that was added in today was arguably the most important of all. It is this. It is this little speaker icon here next to this word arpeggiated. So earlier I was giving the example of how is a beginner supposed to use arpeggiated if they don't even know what arpeggiated means. Arpeggiated is a musical term that is accepted in Suno. Over here you can choose between piano, electric guitar, acoustic, synthesizer, violin, you know, all these kinds of stuff. So let's say I add a piano and I add the modifier under playstyles. We can see arpeggiated, sustain, tremolo, right? All of these three. And there is a one-liner at the bottom of arpeggiated that says Place each note in a chord individually. Okay, it's a one-liner description, but maybe some people just need a bit more guidance, right? I'm trying to train your hearing so that when you hear what arpeggiated sounds like, you will be able to immediately tie two and two together and say, ah, so that's what I've been hearing. So that's called arpeggiated. And that is what I want to foster. And so the speaker icon, if you were to press it, it would play a short audio preview of what arpeggiated is, right? So if you're a beginner and you're like, what is arpeggiated? You can click on it, you can hear it, and on the spot you can be like, okay, yeah, I want to add arpeggiated to the piano. Yeah, it gives you a more informed decision because now you know what arpeggiated means. Now, of course, this isn't the sound of a piano. I made these audio samples on my own in Ableton using a synth just to get the message across or just to help explain what arpeggiated is. Don't worry about the instrument I used to make the arpeggiated sound, but so now you know how arpeggiated sounds like, and if you put it on a piano, you should be able to be like, okay, I can kind of picture it a lot better now. You know, you got drums here. Drums is the only one that doesn't have arpeggiated tremolo and stuff because it's, well, drums are totally different from a played instrument. There's totally different stuff going on. Right, so you know, things like this to help you get a better idea. Let's say glitchy drums. Right, so I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds nice, let me add it. I want glitchy drums and arpeggiated piano, right? And then at the bottom here, we can see that the prompt is updated live. And then here we have your mood and emotion. You can choose any two. Right, let's say aggressive and bittersweet are the two that I want to choose. And in the prompt, you would see this little box here. Currently, maybe it's a bit too small to see on your end, but it says aggressive and bittersweet. What you can do is press on the box that says and it'll pop up a list. This list has different bridging words. So currently it's on and, but you can change it to like while. So now it becomes aggressive while bittersweet, or maybe aggressive but bittersweet, aggressive transitioning to bittersweet, right? We know for a fact that changing the bridging words will definitely yield a different outcome. We are unable to really pinpoint. For example, in real life, we can say sweet and sour. And we'll be like, okay, sweet and sour. And then I would say sweet but sour. We know in the back of our mind that it means two different things. Sweet and sour sour mean two different things. The two flavors are still there, but that bridging word in the middle kind of changes it a bit. Sweet and sour, you have a kind of idea like, okay, maybe it's 50% sweet, 50% sour, right? And then sweet but sour, suddenly the emphasis is on the sour part because of the but. So you're like, okay, maybe it's a 40% sweet but 60% sour. That's why it's a but, right? You know, small little changes like that can affect the outcome, even if we are unable to pinpoint where that outcome changed. So that's why I added this here. It can help to change stuff, but I'm not confirming, I'm not guaranteeing you that it will definitely change it or you will definitely be able to hear it. But, you know, I let you play around with it. Genres and fusions, right? These have the same exact list, don't worry about it. So after choosing a genre or a fusion, you can click on the arrow and it drops down what we call tied elements. What are tied elements? So tied elements just essentially means what makes this genre sound the way it is. For example, in hardstyle, there are certain elements that make hardstyle, right? You're able to identify what makes hardstyle music, and so these are the tied elements, right? Hard distorted kicks, aggressive euphoric leads, reverse bass impact, high energy rave feel, right? All these are kind of what makes up hardstyle. And out of these four, you are able to choose what you want from hardstyle, right? Maybe you don't want the reverse bass impact, you don't want the aggressive euphoric leads. That's fine. Then in the fusion, let's say alternative rock. Then we have the same kind of what makes alternative rock. Then you can choose from here. So let's say I choose the middle two, right? Then over here at the bottom, it updates it automatically for you. No need to worry. And here we would see the second box that enters fusion and genre, right? Right now it's hardstyle fused with alternative rock. The bridging word is contrasted with. So hardstyle contrasted with alternative rock, right? Because these are two kind of opposing genres, or like on the opposite sides of the spectrum, right? Then maybe you want to say it's blended with alternative rock, or maybe warped by alternative rock. See, all these little changes in the bridging words can yield different results if you really want to experiment. So I leave it up to you. There's a whole list over here, and these two lists with these two bridging words, if you can't find what you want, there is a custom phrasing. You can enter in your own custom phrasing, no worries, right? Tempo, you can choose a range, or if you have a certain tempo in mind, you can type it in here and it will just update it. Let's say 172 BPM. Okay, there you go. Press enter, 172 BPM. It is right here. So let you customize however you want. Key and scale, if you really wanted to, you can go in depth, but if you don't have to. If you don't have a scale in mind, Lydian, pentatonic, if you don't have that in mind, doesn't matter. Maybe you want to have a key of D major. Sure, let's just go with D major. Okay. Right, now let's go on to texture and effects. Here is where you find reverb, delay, echo, or wide stereo, along with the speaker buttons for each. Right? Right, so you can preview them. So let's say I want the reverb. Okay, and then there's the one-liner explanation there for you too. If you don't know what it means, then let's say I want to apply it to the hard distorted kicks for whatever reason, right? I can do that. I can specifically map the reverb to a certain aspect. So I can not only map it to the instruments, but these are also mappable. I made sure to allow for mapping to the tied elements. So expressive vocal range, right? I want an expressive vocal range, but let's say I want to put reverb on it. Sure, why not? Textures, vinyl crackle. Right, for that lo-fi feel or something like that. Movement, we have the glitch. Right, kind of, you know, that hyperpop-ish kind of thing. And then, let's say a glitchy, high energy rave feel kind of thing. Right, so this is the workflow. And over here, this prompt is done. You can copy and paste it if you want to, but at the end we can also see a little orange plus icon. Here is where you can manually add your prompts. So maybe you have remembered a few prompts that you would always love to put inside. Like for example, maybe for me personally, I love the deep rumbling bass. I can add it in myself. Vocal ensemble, barbershop quartet, classic. I can always add it right here. And then I can copy and paste it. I can go into Suno and paste it here and then press create. And that is essentially what my app is. It is to help you not only build your prompt, sure, it can build your prompt, but what I wanted to share with people is the education and the information, you know, like I love to teach, right? And so that's why I made this app, because, you know, there are beginners out there who want to get started, but they have no idea where to look, right? So here you are able to build your prompt while learn at the same time through exploration, right? You don't have to stop what you're doing, sit down, watch a 2-hour video where someone's just explaining to you, but you don't actually get to play with it yourself. And so here's where it is, right? Right, we have wah electric guitar. All right, chugging. Right, you know, things like that, and then you can add it in here. And then at the bottom we have pads. We can turn our instrument here into a pad too, and then here we can choose the tone of the sound. Right, you have your muted, you have maybe a bright. Alright, that's, you know, there's where you can customize it, and you're able to essentially make a soft arpeggiated piano chords. Right, you can do that. You can also do a dreamy arpeggiated piano pad. You can do that too. It's there for you, and you can hear what dreamy sounds. right? Remember this? I was sharing about pads the other time. Yeah, so very customizable. And oh, here's another one. Electric guitar riffs. I made sure to change. You can click on it if you want the riffs or you want the chords. You know, it's there if you want to change it. But the disclaimer is I'm not curbing your creativity, but this doesn't mean that I guarantee whatever you enter in, however you want to break this by choosing weird styles to fuse with each other, that it would 100% work. I just don't want to limit your creativity. So, you know, that's just a normal disclaimer. And on the right here, we can see here's the what's new. Over here, I have updated. Audio samples are now live, guys. Click on the speaker icon to hear what the playstyles, tones, and effects sound like. Yes, yes, yes. This is the most excited I have been in a while because I get to finally share it with you guys, and it's officially completed. The V1 is at least completed, and I'm so happy. I built this myself from ideation to creating the front end, this interface, and just a few hours earlier I was on Claude Code doing the back-end mapping of the audio samples. If you want to read about the about, right, my message to you guys, right, privacy policy, it's very bare bones because I'm not collecting any user data in terms of like emails and stuff like that. I'm only collecting data on, like, let's say how many people picked Chinese, right? You know, then I would know, like, okay, Chinese as a genre is quite popular, right? You know, maybe arpeggiated, how many people are picking arpeggiated, or how many people are clicking the speaker icon. So I would know, you know, like whether people find it useful, whether it's not even interacted with in the first place. And that's what I want to get from the analytics, so that going forward, as I'm patching, as I'm adding new features, I get a better idea of what users want. Terms, conditions, there it is if you want to read it, right? Here's the contact. If you want to submit some feedback, you can reach out to me by emailing me there. And yeah, that's my app. I made it. I made it from scratch. What a time, right? I have no coding experience, no backend or front-end experience, but I managed to make a app from ideation all the way to delivery. And so yeah, let me know how you guys feel about this, whether you find it useful, whether the interactive workflow feels good, and yeah, I can't wait for you guys to try it. Peace!